Welcome to Spam Filter for Your Brain, bite-sized ponderings on how our thoughts influence our behaviour and our lives, and because we're all connected, how our thoughts impact the world. I'm here to help people reconnect with their bodies and declutter their brains. And I don't believe that we should just magically know how our emotions and our thoughts impact our lives if no one ever teaches us. So let's learn this stuff together. This week I've been thinking quite a lot about when the emotional roller coaster gets too much. When all of those high volume emotions feel like there's too many in one place at one time. I'm in a coaching program at the moment that's going through quite a big overhaul, and it is really challenging sort of trying to set a new space and a new container and travel through someone reinventing their business when I was really hoping and seeking for support in the format that I arrived in the space in. And it's really interesting. Thank you, Siren. Background. Finding it really interesting watching myself resist my own change in a space that is held by someone really authentically going through their own change, and me sort of spending time in this space realising that I don't want to have to challenge myself about how I manage my emotions and what comes up for me, and have to rethink the way that I interact and the way that I do things in a particular space, because I think the rest of life is hard enough. And it has me thinking about people who may contemplate wanting to join some of the courses that I run or do any kind of work with me, or think that any of the stuff that I talk about resonates with them, but actually they don't want to join any of the courses because it's just really hard. And sometimes digging into this stuff can feel really hard, and maybe the rest of life feels like it's hard enough that actually willfully deciding, making a conscious choice to do something that is really tricky and really difficult can feel like the last thing in the world that you'd probably want to do. And what that viewpoint doesn't allow for is the idea that anything else could be possible. And for sure, when we're working on big emotional stuff and working through some of the ways that we got here and the reasons behind all of this stuff, it can be extremely difficult trying to peel back all the layers and look at some of our own stories and our own reasoning. But the other side of that is such incredible, well, firstly, dopamine from the joy of learning and the joy of getting things transformed and finding out that you have agency and another thing could be possible, but also that there is like a possibility that you don't have to be in constant agony all of the time with, anything from body image to imposter syndrome to your relationship with money to timekeeping to mostly it all boils down to being an arse to yourself. You have to be an arsehole to yourself all the time. Who knew? And this week really has me thinking a lot about people who would rather not deal with any of this stuff because the familiarity of the pain that they experience now feels more safe, frankly, than the idea of having to dig into this stuff and have to face a different kind of pain or a new kind of pain or anything that feels unfamiliar, because quite often unfamiliar feels dangerous, and we'd far rather deal with the devil we know than one that we feel that we have a chance of bullying ourselves and saying that we brought on ourselves. Because at least if you're just sat there full of imposter syndrome, you can say, well, that's just the kind of person that I am, or that's just the way that things are. But if you decide to actually work on imposter syndrome and then you start noticing a whole load of stuff that's coming up for you, then there's a chance that you might talk shit to yourself about the way that you're feeling, because you could say, well, I chose to work on this stuff. I chose to bring these feelings up. I chose to investigate this stuff. And therefore, the pain is my fault. And I think it is that blame that prevents us from doing so much of the emotional growth that we could do, and actually, therefore, prevents us from finding a lot more peace in ourselves and in our lives and in the world around us. Frankly, because we're just scared that we're going to blame ourselves if it doesn't go right. And that's so big of a barrier, that we can't see that there could be a time the other side where it doesn't feel like shit all the time. So I'm here to remind you that some of my courses enable some teachings that mean that maybe possibly some things might not feel shit all of the time when they might do at the moment. Maybe it won't do, but I have a lot of optimism in the tools that I use, and you can see a lot of the testimonials on Self-Care School. I think it's, it's really revolutionary work. It means a lot to people who really, really go for it and really want to make a transformation in their lives. And I think if there is a chance that you could live your days and not have a whole load of stuff that you feel like you need to really, really stuff down just to be able to survive, or you feel like we're just not equipped to be dealing with, then that's probably one of the most important things in life, I think, to be able to have the toolkit, to be able to keep stretching our hearts wider and loving more and creating more inclusive spaces for everyone around us, which is we can only do if we're really looking after ourselves, because then we have the space and the capacity to do that. So if that is something that you would like to work on, I'd love to work on it alongside you, and I hope to see you on one of the courses one day. And if not, in the meantime, please be kind to yourself. I'll speak to you next week. If you're enjoying what you're hearing on the podcast here, I would love to invite you to Self-Care School. Self-Care School is a membership site where we have group coaching calls every week. We have a whole load of courses that you can dip into for whatever suits your needs. We have courses on confidence, body image, timekeeping, how to manage big emotions, overwhelm, loads and loads of stuff in there. You can kind of pick out whatever you want to work on. There is a big library of workbooks, which includes journal prompts and questions for you to be able to apply this work to your own life. And we have the most amazing community where people support each other, we learn from each other, and you get to work alongside people with quite often very different life situations to your own, and we learn so much together in community. If you would like some more of this, please do hop over to selfcareschool.co.uk.